Well, hello there, guys and gals of YouTube world. It's the investing channel slash kayak channel slash life channels. It is Saturday, September the 18th. And like always, if you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. Please like the videos. Feel free to comment. Comment anything you want. You know, just don't be derogatory. Don't be racial towards me, because I had to ban a couple people from being racial towards me. And don't be derogatory or I will ban you from my channel. But feel free to comment on any topic you want me to talk about, etc., etc. Please share any video you think is worthwhile sharing. I'm going to talk a little bit today about the daily grind towards becoming financially independent. The reason I'm talking about this topic today is I watched a video earlier today by a well-behaved wallet. She, like so many people, I think is getting a little overwhelmed, a little frustrated, because when you pursue financial independence, it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey. And if you don't make a lot of money, it seems at times it's a hard journey. It's uphill. It's an uphill climb. It's a struggle. I understand. I get it. I was not born wealthy. I was enlisted in the Navy. I was a blue-collar cop. As a teenager, I started cutting grass, age 12, age 13. I wrote down, so I remember, I worked on a horse farm. I creosoted a fence for a temporary job, which about killed me, I think. I almost had a heat stroke. I then worked on another horse farm where I was mucking stalls, and I learned how to dig out the wet spot. And I worked a rodeo where I would have to bring horses out into the ring, etc. But then when I was 19, I was working landscaping and digging holes in the mud, the muck, dirty. And I was probably 18 one day, and my back was bothering me. And I was standing, you know, you see guys with a shovel. I was holding the shovel, leaning on, looking around, and I was the youngest guy in the bunch. And it hit me, it's like, I gotta do something. I gotta do something with my life. These guys are older than me, and they're out there digging holes in the rain, the heat, everything, you know. It's like, there's more to life than this. So at age 19, I joined the Navy, and I became an electronics technician. Within a couple years, I got married. A couple more years, I had my first son. After almost 10 years active duty, I decided to leave the Navy. But prior to leaving, back in 1990, I had a roommate who taught me a little bit about mutual funds, just a little bit, enough to intrigue, light a spark up there. I started looking at Money Magazine. I started looking at other stuff. And I started investing in mutual funds. I didn't have a lot of money. I just put a little bit in there. And throughout the 90s, it grew, not to a lot. It might have hit 10,000, 12,000, something, not a lot. I took it out periodically. I took stuff out to buy my first house back in I was still in the Navy when I bought my first house in Virginia, different part of Virginia where that I lived at. But then I got out of the Navy. When I got out of the Navy, I went to college, got a bachelor's degree while I was in the Navy. So I decided I want to work in business, and I became a manager of a store. That was the only time in my life that I made what I call decent money. I think I was making $45,000 a year. It was commission-based. I learned how to talk. Excuse me. I still got the crud in me a little bit. I learned how to talk, unless it's COVID. I learned how to talk to people. I learned how to sell stuff. But I didn't do that I did it for about a year, and then I became a cop. I took a pay cut. My starting pay was $23,000 a year. I was making, say, $45,000. I went to $23,000 a year. By that time, I had 2 children, young. My wife had just had the baby, staying at home. Money, and I had just bought my house that I was living in. My mortgage was about one of my 2 paychecks a month. 2 paychecks, one was the mortgage. The other paycheck paid everything. I had a 105-pound German Shepherd, a cat, and 2 birds, and 2 kids, and a wife. And that other paycheck had to pay everything. And my heating bill, we didn't have air conditioning. Which is why you might have heard me reference, I did not use my furnace for 10 years. It was a 1955 furnace. It was very inefficient. I used plug-in electric heaters, the radiator style. I don't have one here to show you, but they kind of look like a radiator, the oil filled. I got 1, I got 2, I got 3. And we heated our house for a decade with these heaters. No furnace, okay? So money was tight. But I found the Motley Fool in 1999. I was a cop then. I found the Motley Fool. I learned how to buy individual stocks. And I started plugging away with whatever I had, nickels and dimes almost, you know. Not literally nickels and dimes, but kind of like that. I put money into my 457 plan. And it wasn't a lot. There were some months might put $100 in. There's times I cut it back because kids are expensive, so I cut it back. But I kept plugging along. I didn't study it. I knew about financial independence in 1999, maybe before 1999. But on Motley Fool, I found boards, FIRE boards, Financial Independence Retire Early, they called it. In 1999, I was 30-ish, in my early 30s. That's when I discovered it, and I was like, I want to do this. I want to retire when I'm 50. And my plan was to have retire basically on my pension, and whatever my stocks grew to. That was my original plan. And if I had done that, I'd still be living in Virginia, and money would still be tight, and I'd probably be working part-time somewhere, or maybe even full-time. But along the way then, 2009-ish, my wife started working part-time in the YMCA in the playroom, because then she could take our boys with her to work and get paid. Then she started working in a preschool. Again, she could take by that time, my youngest boy with her. The oldest was in school, kindergarten probably, first grade. But he could get off the bus there after school and stay there at no charge. So we didn't have the child care expense. But trust me, in a preschool, you make basically minimum wage. Sorry, I keep coughing. But then by about 2009, 2010, she got a job in a factory. And I'll tell you which factory now, since she no longer works there, Hershey Chocolate. They treat their employees kind of bad. But she worked for almost 12 years, 7 days a week. Not 365 days a year, but close to it. Week after week, month after month. There were months she did not have a single day off. Okay? So when I hear the young folks complaining, 40 hours is too much, 20 hours a week is too much, oh, that I don't want to work overtime. Cops, I don't want to work overtime. I worked a lot of overtime because when you don't have a lot of money, you got to do what you got to do to make more money. Because if you don't, you're going to be stuck down here for a long time. Okay, you got to do what you got to do. And when you don't make a lot of money, you learn to save wherever you can. You bypass eating in restaurants. You don't get a cup of coffee out and about. You literally don't get anything out and about if money's that tight. When money's not that tight, treat yourself to the occasional meal out. Not weekly, not even monthly, occasionally. Because you need to build up your wealth. Okay? Knowing what I know now, I could have been wealthy if I started in my early 20s, by the time I was 30, I would have been wealthy. If I could do it at age 30 when I became a cop, I dare say by the time I was 40, I could have retired from being a police officer without that pension, if I knew what I know now. Okay, I didn't know what I know now back then. But in 2017, that's when I bought my first rental house. Okay, it means I started thinking about it in 2016. I didn't start a long time ago. Around that time period is when I realized my stock portfolio, as well as I was doing, averaging the 15, 16, 17, 18%, when it was just a little bit, it wasn't growing fast enough. Because when you have a little bit of money, it's slow. It takes a while, okay? And yes, I was getting to the point I had more, but I was dead set I was going to retire when I was 50. Okay, so when I got the rental property, not with the first one, because I struggled with that. I had to evict that tenant, and I struggled with it. Not with my second one. And I bought a triplex in 2018. Around the time I got that triplex, or maybe my next house, when I was running the numbers, I realized, real estate, that can grow my wealth much quicker than stocks can, especially when you only have a little bit of money, because it doesn't take a lot of money to buy your first rental house. And I'm not going to talk a lot on that in this video because I'm going to wrap it up. I will talk on that in more videos. But it doesn't, and if Well Behaved Wallet watches this, remember that it doesn't take a lot of money to buy your first rental house. Yes, you might need $15,000, $20,000, but in the big scheme of things, that's not a lot of money. Once you get your first, you open the door and you get positive cash flow coming in. Now that positive cash flow is income that you save, but it counts for a bank. It helps count as income to get a second mortgage for a rental house. And then it's like a snowball effect. It just keeps on going, okay? So life can be hard. It can be a struggle. It can be a struggle for me now. My wife is finally down here. What happens? My cat, who is part of my family, he's still alive. He's still here. But it's like, I don't know if he's going to make it. You know, if he stands up, he's falling down. If this is the best he gets, that's not a life for a cat. And the two of us, we have decided, we've had a lot of pets through the years. It was hard as anything when we lost our German Shepherd. It was hard when we lost other cats. I think we're done. The emotional pain of losing pets is just too much. We may get a fish tank in the future. Something to watch that's calming. And if they die, you scoop them out, you put them in the trash can. You don't get that emotional connection to fish normally. Okay? All right, y'all take care. Stay safe. Do start investing. Do start investing. I will talk more on investing in future videos, and you will see my kayak later today. Take care. Mazske signing out.